Jim, a thoroughly professional performance today. 21 attempts on goal. Were you worried it was never coming?
Yeah, a lot of people use that phrase professional, and that's been sort of a buzzword for the last couple of weeks in terms of our performance. But no, I've got a lot of respect for them. I've watched their games on video, and they've got some well-equipped players for certain positions. I thought the 8 in particular at the holding role was very influential for them. They exploited what they perceived perhaps as some weaknesses in us. And I thought they were a good side, and they were a match for us because we didn't really show the intensity or the quality throughout most of the first half. But I think as the game went on, I said to lads, if you keep asking the questions, keep asking the right ones, we'll get the chances. And they came, and in the end it seemed almost comfortable, and we should have had more goals. But that's not a fair reflection on how the game could have gone based upon the first half.
You talk a lot about being a squad game, and I think that was evidenced today by the fact it's the substitutes who got the goals this afternoon. The first change obviously enforced with Matty coming on, but a bold change, an early change to get Frank onto the pitch, and what a difference he made.
Well, it's a difficult one because even when we win, I'm getting criticised for the fans for things I'm doing, and I'm, we discussed as a group at the end that, and we all agreed it was a good performance. But good is often the enemy of the great. And I want a great performance because we're going to play better teams than them, and I know Hereford and Nuneaton are down there, and it's going to be difficult. But from our perspective is that we want to keep seeing stuff off the training ground come onto the pitch, and I was a little bit disappointed the stuff that we done Monday, Tuesday and Thursday wasn't there. But in terms of decisions, it was a really difficult one today. We spent hours deliberating throughout the week and Thursday night after training, and it would have been very, very difficult to dislodge Dan out the team, very difficult to leave Sam out the team. Niall scored 2 goals, so do you leave him out? Adam Thomas did really well. Him, Elliot and Daz were full of energy and full of running power that got us into this round with the performance in the second half of South Shields. So it was a difficult choice, but the staff were trying to edge me towards certain players, and but I said, look, there's no doubt about it. It's not going to be about the 11, it's going to be about the 14. So when you've got Frank and Matty and Sam able to come off the bench, whether you're trying to consolidate, whether you're trying to win the game, or it's a great free subs. And based upon injuries and performances, perhaps they've worked their way into the team. But this is what we have to remember with young players like Niall Bell. And I think we've seen it with people like Ian Olmsson. They come into the team, they're full of adrenaline, they play really well, they have a great performance, and they have a very good performance and a good performance, and you could see it. And the managers often sort of criticise these young players and say, oh, well, you think you've made it now, and you're getting comfortable. But I think they're playing above themselves a little bit, and you have to be mindful that at some point they go flat. And I think, but Frank's trained really well this week, so we had to give Niall a start. He got us into this round with a goal at South Shields, match winner last week. But Frank's now really put him under pressure for that number 9 shirt.
It'd be interesting to see how you manage that in the next few weeks. That's all to come. But in terms of today, I mean, what a banana skin that was, though, and. Maybe some county fans won't be aware, but I mean we're the first team to beat them for something like 5 months now. And when you look what happened today at Telford and Chester, the FC United slipped up as well. It was a banana skin, wasn't it, today? Well,
I was more worried about this game than South Shields because South Shields you can go there kind of and make sure that you've kind of. Be solid and have a threat from set plays, and we did that really well up their place. There's loads of aspects about today's game I was disappointed with, and that's why I was like showing my disappointment on the sideline. I still think the stuff that we worked on in training in terms of set plays, in terms of reaction, pressurising teams, not letting them get good passes forward, retention from there's so many stuff that we work on, and I have to lads have to appreciate how hard I work to try and give them the information, and then I want to see them working really hard on the Saturday. Even if you're 3-0 up, just keep doing it professional, because it'll stand you in good stead when you play the better teams. But I've seen some of the results, and but that's the FA Cup, and on any given day, the team that's like supposedly the minnows have their day and play above themselves, and that's. But no, I like I said, I've seen all the videos, we've done the match reports, and we knew they had certain strengths. I know they were missing the lad through suspension. The 11 is a really important player, but that goes to show you how important. I spoke to the lad. I said, "How disappointed for you to miss out on this occasion?" But that's discipline for you, And Niall Bell was a little bit frustrated that he was taken off. But like Jordan Keighren, if you're going to lose this game, it's because you perhaps got down to 10 men, or so we couldn't take a chance, especially with a fit, hungry, and sharp Frank Mulhern on the bench. So one force change early on, half time, I had to make another change, and then. I thought the lads worked really hard, so it was hard to get Sam Minahan on the pitch. But I think Dan Cowan in particular justified my decision to play him in the back four, and so that solidity of the back four, the workman-like nature of Sam Walker again, but it was a good performance. And there's, I said to the lads, we've got to keep working hard every week for the 3 days that we're training to become a great side.
How's Jordan Keighren?
I think it's. A slight hamstring strain, it's a minor one, but this is where we've kind of we're really disappointed as a staff that he's injured. We work really hard behind the scenes in terms of our strength training program, and the main reason for that is injury prevention. And I think this is he's the only player I think who's picked up, if you like, what we refer to as intrinsic injuries, injuries that are created by himself rather than other people, and that's probably down to a lack of strength. Jordan's a player we've had to think carefully about as a staff. When you first come to a club, the training regimes are different, which takes a while to adapt. The travel aspect, the 3 days a week aspect rather than 2, and then also the shift from being a centre half to centre midfield puts all massive demands on him. So we've tried to manage Jordan to try and find some way of getting a little bit more for him, because when the first day he came to the club, I was really impressed with him, and I thought he's going to be a really good player. But it gives us a little bit of a headache, because I think he's going to miss at least one game. Conor DeMayo's on standby for the Republic of Ireland under-21s. Right. Paul Turnbull's still being assessed for that avulsion fracture. Elliot dropped in there. And in a game like today, that having Sam Walker and Elliot and Warby makes you feel like that's a good free. But we're going to have bigger challenges over the next couple of weeks, so we could do 1 or 2 more players being available. But maybe a little bit of FA Cup money might go towards a loan. But at the moment, I want to work with lads and only improve if in the areas that we need to. But I'm delighted for Stotty and Elliot, because they've come into the club and things have seemed to turned in a way that we wanted.
And just finally, Hereford, of course, next week. You were talking about this being a rip-roaring cup tie, and that'll be a cracking atmosphere when Hereford come. Yeah,
I remember playing at their place, and I think they brought the bull out for the FA Cup when they were a non-league side, and then they worked their way into the league, and I think they come here first day of the league. A club like ourselves with great tradition, and they obviously died as a club and had to kind of come back as a Phoenix club, but I met the manager, and I was really disappointed to see him leave. So there's obviously a lot of changes, and there's a transition going on, because Hereford obviously want to remodel themselves to be competitive for the next level. But since then they've been on an awful run. I went straight after training on Tuesday night to go and watch them against Chester, and they're a solid, physical, hard-working side, but they're on a terrible run at the moment, and like I said, they could do with something changing for them. But we can't take anything for granted, because I'm sure I like Tim Harris, and I think he's gone in as general manager, and they've appointed a head coach, and they've got a solid group of players. They're probably low on confidence, low on that potency that you need to win games. But another tough game for us. But what I said to our guys is that today was good, it was professional, but it might be enough the next game, but we really need to be kind of, because at the end of the next 3 or 4 games, we want, ideally, or what we need to do is work really hard and improve ourselves, because we want to be in the first round, and we want to be in the top 5, and that's our targets for the lads in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and that'll take a lot of work on a training ground and a lot of work on a Saturday to get there, because so far we've had 3 or 4 good results, but I want the next 3 or 4 to be similar, and then we can talk about quality rather than form being temporary, quality is permanent.
getting through to the next round. Well done.
Thanks so much.